And thank you for coming to our workshop this morning. My name is Cindy Boyce. I'm the Training and Development Officer here at the University of Montana. I'm very excited to have these two some campus experts. I know that there's a lot of people who use social media, but these folks, it's pretty much a large part of their job. Andrea Lewis is the news editor and the event coordinator for University Relations, so she uses social media and other traditional forms of media to promote the University of Montana and our great stories here. Paco is the digital marketing manager for the University of Montana and uses social media quite extensively to recruit students here. So join me and welcome Andrea and Kyle.
Awesome, thank you. Welcome, good morning. Okay. So we just got a great introduction from Cindy, and you notice that we both have, dual titles. So like many of you, we have other duties in addition to social media. So we hope we can kind of help with how to balance social media with other tasks on your plate. And I just wanted to share a couple things about myself. And 3 things that make me happy are skiing, chocolate, and my lab puppy named Uli.
3 things that make you happy? I didn't know we were doing that. 3 things that make me happy. I would say skiing as well. Marketing, I guess I'll say digital marketing because that's what I really like to do. And lastly, I like soccer. I played soccer. So, welcome. Thanks for coming. So today we're going to talk about 3 main points, and then under each of these we're going to have some subheadings. But number 1, why social, and where do I start? So we're going to try to answer the question, why does this matter? That's a big one. Number 2, find the right message. So how do we communicate to our audience in a way that they'll listen to us instead of just sort of spinning our gears? And finally, you're a social media manager, so now what? What can I go home with today and implement this afternoon or this morning or tomorrow? And we'll give you some tools that you can take home to your office. Oh, we're going to start with a video. So you might have also seen this during the Super Bowl. So we'll play this. And
see, that's what I said. The case that she thought it was about.
Yeah.
But I've never heard it said. I've only seen it marked. There it is. At AM feedback.com. I mean, what is internet anyway? What do you write to it like mail?
There's Allison. Can you explain what internet is?
See, that's what I said. What do you mean there's nothing under the hood? Katie said she thought this was a car.
Yeah.
And it's built using wind? Like from a windmill?
Or a fan, or a turbine, or a fan vine.
Wow. I mean, what is I3 anyway?
Allison, can you explain what I3 is?
So you may have seen that during the Super Bowl. And that was 21 years ago. And when we say 21 years, it's hard to believe it was only 21 years ago, right? Times have definitely moved fast. Technology has moved at a pretty insane rate. We sent out a survey before this session, and a lot of the responses, or some of the questions, or at least the comments were, I didn't grow up with social media. I didn't grow up with this technology, so how do I implement this in a way that students will listen? It's important to note that Andrea and I, we didn't grow up with social media either. I remember a time when you were turning on your computer. Do you guys remember booting up? Like when your computer would shake and make insane noises?
Who remembers dial-up? Dial-up? Oh yeah, those days are gone.
Yes, dial-up. So now we like things at a certain speed. I'm going to do a quick survey. How many people in this audience view television on their own time, excluding sports and award shows? But this includes Hulu, Netflix, TiVo. So raise your hands high. You watch it on your own time. So if you're in the front, kind of look back and see. So it's about maybe 90% of the audience, maybe 95% of the audience. And so we're there, right? Like we understand, we like things now. We're on demand. I hear people often say, students now, they want things so fast. And everyone raises their hand. Yeah, I only watch TV when under my time. And still, the television advertising industry is $1 billion business. And so as marketers and social media managers, or a lot of us in this room wear many hats, it's important to think about where is our audience and are we spending time there? So if you're thinking, boy, I need television commercials, well, are your students or is your audience watching television? This graph shows us YouTube reaches more US adults ages 18 to 34 than any cable network. And this is according to Nielsen. over 100 hours of uploads reach YouTube every minute. This pie chart comes from our prospective student data and actually enrolled students. So last year, 62% of our non-resident enrolled students first found out about the university through an online channel, meaning they completed an online interest form as the first time they sort of leaned in and said, hey, I'm interested in the university. Or they went right to our online application, or maybe they clicked on an ad in our digital marketing or social media and found us that way. But 62% found us through an online channel. This survey question asks, how often do you view the following social media sites for colleges/universities you have considered attending? And we're going to talk about some of the ones on the left here, so don't worry too much about the individual networks. But Facebook, 10% multiple times a day, and this comes from a Zinch.com survey that surveyed high school students who are actively searching for colleges. So 10% search multiple times a day or check the Facebook page of the college they're interested in multiple times a day. 5% on YouTube, 5% on Twitter. And you can see some of the ones down here, Tumblr and Pinterest. You might have heard of these and think, does it make sense for my department, for my program to be on here? And maybe it does. For admissions, seeing a stat like this, that 2% check Pinterest for their college search, with a limited bandwidth, and all of us are kind of in that same boat, we're not going to devote too much time to that channel at this point. Trends in viewing social media for college research. You can see all of these are moving up and to the right. Most recent data in 2014. So Facebook, 67% view social media for college research. And we're going to send this out after the presentation as well if you kind of want to capture some of this information. This question, students opt into social media communication. Do you follow or like a college you are considering attending? 72% say yes. So again, they're leaning in. They're saying, I want to hear more from the University of Montana. And lastly, this pie chart, I'm not expecting to follow everything on here and be able to read that, but this shows us the traffic that lands on our website from social media. So a student starts on Facebook, and maybe Andrea's posting a story about what's happening on campus, and they click on that ad and land on our website. Well, what happens after that? So we set up a goal that said, if somebody lands on our college application, that's a check mark, that's a goal. And over the last year, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, these channels have produced 78,000 website visitors on the University of Montana and produced 500 goal completions. So 500 students have landed on that college application page. This is a good visual to measure. So why does this matter? Can you get a return on investment? And this shows, well, yes, you can. Based on Facebook, 500 goal completions have started.
Okay, great. So as Kyle mentioned, we did send out a survey to you guys before this class to kind of understand where you were coming from and what you were hoping to get out of this workshop. And we kind of culled this down into a few different questions. And so they're listed here, and we're kind of now dig down into the details of these and trying to give you some takeaways from our presentation. But at the end, we're also going to leave time for specific questions. And also, we want to hear from you, because if you guys are all social media managers in your respective departments, you probably have great ideas that maybe I want to steal your idea and start implementing it for the main University of Montana page. So the first question that kind of came up is, how do I stand above the noise? And we all know that social media is a really noisy space. There's lots of chatter out there, and it can be super overwhelming. And so this may sound really simple, but my big takeaway is talk on social media as you would to a friend, or if you went to a party, or in a social business situation. So if Kyle was at a party and he was my friend, I would not walk up to him and say, give me your email, or click here. He would probably be like, who are you? And you're creepy. So talk to your audience as if you were talking to your friend. And the big thing here is just, be authentic and let the personality of your department shine through.
Another survey question that we got some responses was, I'm just starting a social media channel or a Facebook page or a Twitter account. How do I grow that? And this is one of the hardest steps, is going from that 0 to 1. So some of you might identify with this 2 likes when you go to your page, and I'm not going to say who. This actually came from a page I just found. But this is actually a good position to be in because you have a competitive advantage. You're at a point where you can reach out to that other person. I'm assuming that the other like is you, like you've liked your page, and now you recruited maybe your friend or liked the page. And so it really helps to be in this position. Because as soon as somebody likes your page, now you can reach out to them. You know, if you like a page, for example, like Nike or Red Bull, which will show some examples, their social media manager isn't going to be able to reach out and say, hey, Kyle, thank you so much for liking our page. You know, have you seen our website? Maybe you just rate there on the Facebook page. This is a really good strategy when you're just starting out because it shows, oh, like, I haven't seen this before. In social media, everybody thinks it has to be really broad and shouted from a microphone. But like Andrew was saying, if you talk at a conversational level and even reach out direct, so what's your name?
Rosalind.
Rosalind. So Rosalind, if you like the University of Montana page and we come back, hey, thank you for liking that or thank you for commenting, that's going to, oh, wow, the university really cares about what I'm saying, and maybe I'll comment more or pay more attention to them.
And one example, just to add in on that, is on our Twitter page, if someone tags UMontana in their tweet, so came to campus today, what a beautiful place UMontana is, we'll go ahead and respond directly back to them through Twitter, direct message, and say, glad you were on campus, you know, let us know if we can answer any questions, enjoy your time in Missoula. And more times than not, we get that retweeted or favorited, and that's going out to their network, so it's a great opportunity for one-on-one connections.
And Chris, can I pick on you? So Chris came and talked to us and said, you know, I'm just starting a page, wondering how to gain some traction. And I touched base with Chris before the session, and can you share what sort of you did to help grow that audience?
Yeah, so I work for the Office of Sustainability, and we started a page in January. So it started out pretty small, just my employees. But what I started doing was going to like individual clubs that I thought would kind of help build a follower base, and meeting with those students one-on-one and encouraging them to kind of like, you know, help us out with this new social media presence we're building. So we kind of grew that up, and those students started sharing it with their networks, kind of get a larger audience going.
So another question you guys had is, which social media channels should I use? And I don't know if anyone has felt overwhelmed by just how many channels there are out there, and you know, maybe your boss or your supervisor just heard about Snapchat and we should really be on Snapchat, and you're like, what is Snapchat? And you're like Googling it on the side. And I mean, I've been there. Actually, I did that recently with Snapchat. And so I think the main thing is Kyle and I can't tell you which channel to be on. The question is, what channel can you execute well, and what channel is the best way for you to deliver the message to your audience? And so I'm going to give just a couple examples about the university's main channels, which are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And Facebook is a great channel for us because it's very visual. You can share photos and videos. You can put quite a bit of content on there. And Facebook's, how many people in this room are on Facebook? There you go. So it's very highly used, and it makes people feel very good about themselves. So if they share an article, maybe it makes them feel smart. This is the college that I graduated from, or maybe there's a researcher in one of your departments that's doing something really interesting, and they share that to their friends. That makes them look smart. So we find a lot of people engaging with our content, not only students, but people who don't live in Montana anymore, and they spent time here, and there's a nostalgia associated with that, and you know, we're connecting them back to a special time in their lives. And then Twitter is 140 characters. How many people here are on Twitter? Okay, so fewer. And I actually love Twitter as a way to consume news. So if you're thinking about getting Twitter for your department, I would recommend just getting your own account and following maybe some news channels or things that you're interested in. And it's a super great way to consume news just on a daily basis. The university uses it for up-to-the-minute, by-the-minute updates. And also, we tweet out our own news. So we send out a fair amount of news releases every week, and we put them up on Twitter. But then in an example like last year where we had the lockdown, we were actually using Twitter to get safety information out to our students, faculty, and staff. And we used a hashtag called UMLockdown, and we can get more into hashtags later if you guys aren't 100% comfortable with them. But basically, it's a way for people to follow a conversation, and we were getting information out, and then people started having conversations within that larger conversation about the lockdown. And then, oops, sorry, I forgot to talk about Instagram. Instagram is a photo sharing app, and how many of you are on Instagram? Okay, good. About the same as Twitter. And the old saying, a picture is worth a? Yeah, 1,000 words. So your photo is communicating your message. So you don't need a ton of copy here, but you do want to think about how is this photo communicating a message? If the photo is blurry, that's obviously not communicating the strongest message, or if you can't see their face and it's the back of their head. So you want to think about how your photo is communicating a message. And then I'll also give one example of what we haven't done well, which Tumblr is a social media network that we felt compelled to be in because it's a space that high school students are in. And we had an intern who was a Tumblr pro, and we felt all this urgency to be on Tumblr so that we could get in front of that high school audience, which is important for recruiting and introducing people to University of Montana. So we got content up, and it was going really well, and then our intern graduated and he moved on, and Tumblr has sat there without new content. And so that's clearly a channel we just don't have the bandwidth to keep up with. And so I think it's also about understanding the parameters. I would say if you only have time to do one channel, but you can do it well, stick with that. And then as things change in your department, and you maybe have more staff or you have more time to take on another one, then you can take that road.
And working off what Andrea talked about, the wrong reason to have a Facebook page is because you think your department needs a Facebook page, right? So here are 3 questions that will help you really dig down into what is our goal of social media. Again, it's not a megaphone. I like social media because I think that it does sell the university in a positive light. And businesses use social media to actually sell. So in a lot of ways, sales and social media can go hand in hand. So if you have an objective, if you're sitting here thinking, why are we starting a Facebook page, or why have an Instagram account? Well, we live in Missoula, which is one of the most photogenic places on the planet, right? This is a really great place for Instagram. I think we benefit from that. So what is your objective? What are you trying to accomplish, and why? Ask yourself that, and ask your team that as well. What is the job title, role, or defining characteristic of your target audience? And this is an exercise where you put yourself in the shoes of your audience. So if your objective is to reach current students, put yourself in the shoes of a current student and ask, is our message jiving with what they're looking for? If you're in the alumni network, have you looked at LinkedIn? If that's your objective, is to reach alumni, that would be a really good platform for you to start on and then grow from there. And finally, what basic needs does your department, service, or product satisfy? This is your value proposition. So if you're in the Department of Mathematics, how can you differentiate yourself from the Department of Mathematics at Boston College? Right? How is there a difference? If a student is following every mathematics department in the country of every college, how are they going to say, oh, tell me one thing about the University of Montana that makes it stand out, and then dig deeper into that avenue? And you'll find that students, there's a lot of noise in social media, as Andrea was talking about, and that's a way to provide some clarity, is when you can identify that value proposition.
Okay, so our next question is, how do I get people to engage more with my content? And I think this is one that we had a lot of questions about this on our survey. And so the main takeaway here is, how do I add value to my audience, and how do I be authentic? So, don't be like this robot. which means, you know, have a personality, have someone who is a social person managing your social media account. You know, have an authentic, interesting voice. And then I have to slide over here and click this link. So I just use this as kind of a funny example. Let's see. So don't be a robot unless you are robotics. So this is the SHAPE P20 program over in the College of Education. And in that case, it would be great for them to have, you know, robotic language and talk about what they're doing with students. So just, you know, identify who you are and then stay true to that message. This is just an example that I took. This is a tweet from BMW. I promise we are not being paid by BMW. This is our second BMW ad today. But this is getting back to the adding value. So this is a tweet they put up on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Today we reflect on the innovation and drive of a man who inspired us all. BMW honors Martin Luther King Jr. Day with a picture of a sports car. So to me, this is not adding value at all. It's a little bit disrespectful to Martin Luther King and everything he stood for. And so instead of adding value to the conversation about Martin Luther King Day, they're capitalizing on this holiday to get an ad in front of people who might be searching these terms. So that's an example of what not to do.
Great, thank you. I compare the outdoor industry. There are a lot of similarities between the outdoor industry and higher education. The outdoor industry is very noisy. There's a lot of different players in that industry. And so finding your space within that world. So outdoor industry, you know, everybody in this audience probably has a favorite outdoor store that they identify with, or maybe a brand. And so I'll run through just a couple things here to illuminate that point. This is backcountry.com. Their target audience, you know, they might sell some sneakers to the 5K runners, but really they want to go and attract those ultra marathon runners, or at least make that the perception that we are the brand, we are the site that you go to when you're ready to get extreme or ready to, you know, summit a mountain, but you need crampons to make it up. So that's their audience. This picture, you know, you can feel the emotion, you can feel the cold, you can feel his calves burning. So this is a great image and goes along with their brand. This picture is not backcountry.com. So, you know, a leisurely stroll. There's a market for this, market for snowshoes, nice sweaters. I might actually pick up that sweater. It's not. And so there is definitely a market for this, but it's not Backcountry's market. So they've carved out a niche and saying, we're identifying with this group. We're going to leave this crew over here for somebody else. This is in town Bob Ward's. So this image comes from their website, family friendly. We're going to have fun on the lake. We're going to have a motorboat. We're going to take out this giant raft and, you know, put our kids' lives in danger. That's Bob Ward's. So things are good. Any guess what this is in town here? So their brand, Cabela's, close. REI, yep. So REI, enjoy the outdoors. If you want to run an ultramarathon, that's not our thing. If you want to go hiking in the Rattlesnake, we're your spot, right? So they've identified a group, and they're really going after that market. And this is a much bigger market than Backcountry, but Backcountry is sort of honed in on that. And finally, Diana, I'll give you another shot. Cabela's, you got it. Yep, so the hunting, fishing, sort of outdoor sportsman market, that's your go-to spot. The employees there know their stuff, great customer service. If you want to know about, you know, what rivers are best right now to fish, that's your go-to place. So what these brands will then do, right, and Andrew gave a great example, like, give me your email, click here, 20% off. This is Gary Vaynerchuk. He writes a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. I recommend it. It's called How to Tell Your Story in a Noisy Social World. I recommend not watching any of his YouTube videos. He's just about as obnoxious as he looks in this image. So, but he does provide really great content and insight into social media. He built a $3 million wine library business only selling wine via social media. So that's how he grew his audience. Or 300 million. I think it was 300 million. So the theory, jab, 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 right hook, or the strategy. If you're a boxer, that's the analogy. If you only throw right hooks, you're probably not going to last too long in the ring. So you have to mix things up. And a right hook in our case is our ask. So what's your objective? In admissions, our objective is to get students to lean in, to say, I'm interested in the University of Montana, tell me more. You know, maybe I don't want to sign up, maybe I don't want to apply, I just want to learn more about the Department of Forestry. And here's some examples of brands who are doing it right. This is Red Bull. Red Bull is an energy drink company, yet they have videos of snowboarders doing amazing things. And again, if we talk about value proposition, they're the energy drink for the extreme athlete. What would Monster.com, or Monster, you know, the energy drink Monster, who's their target audience? Who do they go after? So Red Bull has a good market over the energy drink, or over the extreme athlete. Monster takes a different approach. Anybody have nephews, sounds that drink energy drinks, or gaming? Yeah, maybe gaming, right? Rock shows. Monster sponsors a lot of rock shows. So you might see more on the music side. So that's a jab. Here's another jab. 5 most popular Red Bull videos on YouTube. Goosebump warning. So this isn't selling energy drinks. This is just providing value to the consumer. And then here's a right hook. So spring forward with more flavor. You know, they're actually literally punching you in the face with this new energy drink that they have. And so that's a right hook. Here's another example of a jab by Nike. Give winter the cold shoulder. Just a post promoting, hey, get outside. Maybe it'll motivate you to get up and go for a run. Another cool image, Ohio State University band. Go Buckeyes, is that? Okay. And this is our right hook. So download our new sneaker app. You can custom build a sneaker. And you'll find this, you know, when you look at other social media departments or brands, you'll find that if there's too many right hooks, it doesn't resonate. Right? If you're always making an ask, if you follow a blog, my girlfriend follows a blog, it's called Young House Love, and they provide tons of content, a year of jabbing, right? Hey, you know, how to make your own laundry detergent, how to do, you know, how to do all sorts of cool things, crafty things. And then just last year, the author decided, you know what, I'm going to write a book and sell it for $10. It's going to be an ebook. And she said, of course I'm going to buy that book. Like, these people have provided a year of valuable content to me, and now they're making an ask. Of course, that makes sense. So it makes, is that clear that the jab, 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 right hook, you want to sort of, before you make an ask, you have to provide some value to your audience.
So now you figured out who you're talking to or how you're kind of standing out and segmenting your audience. So now I want to talk a little bit about determining what kind of content has newsworthy value so that those jabs, how am I getting, you know, what are the criteria that I should evaluate content with? And so I do know that pitch is only spelled with one P, but that was just my little way of helping you guys remember these qualities of newsworthiness. So the first one is prominence. And prominence is how well known is the individual or subject matter. And this is a picture of, does anyone know who this woman is? Sandra Day O'Connor. She was on campus. I don't know if you guys remember. She was on campus, and we made a big deal about it because she's a prominent person, and it has broad interests outside just the walls of our campus. And then the second one is proximity. And so and proximity is, you know, how close is my audience to this news? So you guys are looking at this picture and thinking, this lady's crazy. You know, Chicago Bull is nowhere close to the University of Montana. But the Chicago Bull, Benny the Bull, is an alum of ours. He used to be the Monty. And so even though Chicago's far away from us, this story has proximity because he is close to our family. So he has proximity to the University of Montana. And then the next one is impact. So the more people that are touched by a story, the more impact that story has. And I chose this photo because it's of one of our hurling players, which is a club sport here on campus. So not many people are impacted by hurling. So if we were to share a story of, hey, the hurling club meeting is today at 2, that would probably only impact maybe 20, 25 people. So we're probably not going to share that story on the main University of Montana homepage. Now, if we wanted to share a story that had timeliness, we would share this story this week, which was St. Patrick's Day was on Tuesday. Hurling is an Irish sport, and they won the national championship last year, and they were hosting a match on campus this week. And so we would tell this story because it's playing off that timeliness of the holiday. Now, if we were to, St. Patrick's Day was on Tuesday, and if we waited till Thursday to share that story, people probably wouldn't care. So you have to remember that we're in a 24-hour news cycle with social media. It's here today, it's gone tomorrow, and if you're talking about St. Patrick's Day on Thursday, you've missed the party, right? So keep that in mind. And then the next one is conflict, and I think we're all aware that conflict is newsworthy, it's interesting, it's something that lights up the internet. So this is a picture of the Grizz-Cat rivalry. And during this time of the year, how many of you have seen posts about cats or go Grizz, go Cats, funny posts about why it's terrible to be a bobcat. So the internet lights up during this time of conflict. And then I think where we have the most opportunity here on campus is with our human interest stories. We have so many interesting people on campus, from our faculty, our students, our staff members. We all have great stories to share. This is a picture of Aaron Thomas. We featured him in a story in the Montana magazine, and I know that not all of you will be writing in-depth feature stories about people in your department, but we have an opportunity to feature short stories, human interest stories, and I think the key here is the more detail you can provide, the more interesting it is to people. So not just who's a professor, working in STEM education with Native Americans, it's like, who is Aaron Thomas and what is his story? So really dig down into it. And then the bonus for this one, which didn't fit into my acronym, but I think we're all really comfortable with this, is the bazaar. So this is dogs asking for bacon and cats falling off of pianos and all those weird videos that we all share and love and then show our friends and watch over and over again.
Thanks. Okay, so just a quick recap about what we've covered: how to find an audience, which social media channels make sense for your message as a department or program, and how do I get people to engage more with my content. So moving forward, we're going to talk about how do I reach a larger audience. So we've gone from 2 likes to 20 likes. Maybe we're at 100. Maybe we've grown an audience. There's people following us. Now, okay, the pressure's on, right? Now we have to deliver that message, or we have to deliver on our objective. And one way to do that is using analytics. A lot of the questions we got in the survey: when's the best time to post? How often should I post? And really, unfortunately, sometimes the question is it depends, but we can use some of the analytics from the university's website and Facebook page to help steer you. So this is a graph. I don't know if I zoomed in on that. Let's go back. This is midnight and midnight. 3 a.m. is our lowest engagement time, so not many students engaging with the Facebook page or staff at 3 a.m. Our peak is actually around 8 p.m., so that is when our page gets the most traffic. And you can see it sort of steadily grows from 6 a.m. on and then really dives right down around 10 o'clock. This comes from Mashable.com, and it's more of a broad view of social media, specifically Facebook. If you're going to post on a specific day of week, Wednesday typically gets the most website traffic. Again, this is traffic, so it's not necessarily engagement. And there is a difference. So everybody checks Facebook maybe on Wednesdays based on this graph, but this doesn't mean that your objective, okay, if you want people to sign up for an event on Saturday, maybe posting it Friday or Saturday morning is a good time to post, would be a better time to post, or multiple times. And time of day, according to Mashable, peak activity is 3 p.m., so this is all demographics. This is a tool you can take back with you today, umt.edu/web/marketing. And I would say this is one of the most underutilized tools on campus. Google Analytics is a pretty cumbersome program. You go in there and it's really not user-friendly. What we've created, or what Nick Shantz and Kayla have created, is a really great way to extract that data in a nice, consumable way. A couple dashboards. It will show you, you put in your website, so grizzalumni.org, and it will tell you all this information. So it looks like grizzalumni.org recently got onto Google Analytics when they did the new Cascade update. But you see some really insightful data, and it's not overbearing. It's not data overload. You see what your top content is. So on your page, what's the most popular thing people are clicking on? You'll find mobile usage. So when people are looking, on average, in this case, let's see, we've got 19% of everybody visiting that site is visiting on a mobile device. So most websites on campus now are mobile friendly if you're on Cascade. But maybe look at that. Say, what does our website look like on a mobile device? So if you're using social media and driving people to your website, how does that look? Search terms. This means in the Google search bar, what are people typing in to land on the grizzalumni.org page? An example, and I won't go off this because it just didn't minimize last time, so we'll keep it here. But homecoming. So I looked, and this is, March. People are already searching for Grizz homecoming tickets, Grizz homecoming dates. So if you're in the alumni program, you could use this information to say, boy, maybe we should have more information on homecoming on our landing page or on our home page. And this is true of any department. So you just put in your URL up there, and you can get some really great data. This comes from Google Analytics as well. This is overall traffic to the university, both on and off campus. This is Saturday, so not a lot of engagement on our website in general on a Saturday. And this takes in all websites. Our highest day is Monday, so people get back from the weekend and they want to start checking pages, whether it's the home page, whether it's your department page. Knowing this might be good, because if you have an important announcement, don't wait till Tuesday. Try to get it up there on Monday.
Okay, great. So one thing that we've learned just at the main university Facebook page and other social media is don't be afraid to try new things. And how many of you have been a little bit hesitant or afraid to press publish or tweet or post? Anyone? Okay, so I'm not alone. And I just wanted to take a quick minute to share a story. Last night, my little neighbor girls came over to visit my puppy. And we use clickers, which are like just little buttons that make a sound, and we use it for training so that when she knows, when we ask her to sit and she sits, we click, and then she gets a treat. And so they saw them on the counter, and they just immediately reached for them, grabbed them, and started pushing the button. And of course, my puppy was like, treat, treat, like, this is awesome. I didn't have to do anything. And, but I think why I wanted to tell you that story was that children are not afraid to press buttons. And they had no idea what that thing was or what it was for, but they saw it was red and yellow, and it was a big yellow button, and they wanted to click it. So I think when we're in the social media world and you're at your desk and you're like, I don't know, should I do it? Click. Think about my story. Channel your childlike wonder and just go ahead and press send. Things don't last long on social media. So if you post something and no one clicks on it, no one likes on it, no one shares it, it's okay. Just try something different, try something new. And I think the average Facebook post only lasts 90 minutes. So if it's not your best content, don't worry about it. You can, in 90 minutes, you can try something different. So the one example I wanted to give was hashtag Montana Monday. Has anyone seen our Montana Monday post that we do on the main Facebook page? No one? No one? Okay. So every Monday we ask our Facebook fans to submit their photos from around the state. And this is something we just came up with because we do live in such a beautiful state, and people who live in Montana or used to live in Montana have that really unique, deep-seated connection with our state. And so every Monday we put up photo gallery. These aren't photos that we take. These are photos that our friends and family take. Send them to us. We put them up. We give them credit. This is done so well, and we're going to keep doing it until people stop sending us photos. So that's something where our audience is saying this works, and they get thousands and thousands of impressions. They get shared, sometimes hundreds of times every Monday. So, and it really has nothing to do with the University of Montana. It's just pretty pictures of Montana that we're organizing for people. So we're giving value to people.
So one of the main things that I do in digital marketing are Facebook ads. And before you kind of tune out and say, well, we definitely don't have a big marketing budget, can't really explore Facebook advertising, or fear that it's too complicated, a couple quick things. One is there's no minimum budget when you advertise on Facebook. Two is you only pay for an ad when somebody engages with it. So unlike traditional media, where if you purchase a newspaper ad, that ad gets sent out. Whether people read it or not, you're paying for it. Digital marketing, specifically Facebook, is amazing because, like I said, your budget can be $5 a day or $5 a month, and that's okay. And you can narrow your audience down so much. The one thing about Facebook, we saw the hands before, who here is on Facebook? The amount of data that Facebook has on this room alone is a bit troublesome, but it's also a marketer's dream, right? You can say, I only want to target people within a 25-mile radius of Missoula because we have an event we want to promote, or maybe a 50-mile radius, ages 18 to 35, maybe ages 45 to 65 as well. And I want to know, it's an event that's geared toward parents, so I want Facebook to identify people who are also parents. And yes, Facebook can do that. So just to give you a quick shot, when you're on your page and you have a business page or a department page, you can go on. If you just say create an ad, you'll get a screen that looks like this. It gives you a lot of different objectives. Going back to that slide about what's your goal. What is your social media goal? Is it to gather email addresses, build an audience, just increase awareness that your program exists? Right? I met with modern and classical languages, and they said, I just don't know that people know that this program exists on campus. So maybe it makes sense for them to reach out, sort of a broad stroke, hey, this is a program we offer. And then maybe a second ad that says, we want you to sign up for our Russian course, so targeting anybody that's interested in Russian specifically. The audience might be pretty small, but again, you only pay when somebody clicks on the ad, so you might not pay anything. And then you can, so how many people have seen boost your post when you post something? That's an option as well. It's really simple. You can post it right on there, boost it. You'll need a pro card to probably enter some information there, and then you can target your audience. This is a test we ran with the university. So once, another question you want to ask yourself is, if you have an objective, where are you sending people to complete that goal? And what is the language like when they get there? Looking at a website the other day on the university page, those buttons on the new Cascade template? I think there were 7 buttons. That's a lot of options for a website visitor to have, right? There's been studies that shown if you are on an e-commerce site, if you have 3 products versus 7, you're actually going to have more sales, not just of any one product, but consumers, it's a little too overwhelming. So make your objective very clear. For us in admissions, it was to get a Grizz guide. Submit your email, lean in, say, hey, yep, get a Grizz guide, and then tell me more about the university. So we actually tested these 3 buttons to see which one out of every 1,000 visitors to our website would get more clicks, would perform better. So I'll give you a second to read those, and then we'll take a vote. So we have number 1, get your Grizz guide. So for every 1,000 visitors, which is the top performer? So get your Grizz guide. How many people think it was 1? Got a couple there. Okay. How about number 2, click for your Grizz guide? Okay. Fewer. And number 3, find out more. So we've got between 1 and 3, we're pretty split. We'll present the results. So out of every 1,000 visitors, 28% clicked on Find Out More, compared to only 10% clicked on Get Your Grizz Guide. So as you're creating your websites, and especially your buttons, you don't necessarily have to do extensive testing, but it matters, right? Knowing that it matters what's on that button should influence some of your decision making, whether it's, and you want it kind of strong, find out more, and maybe a call to action. Even adding click for your Grizz Guide or get your Grizz Guide, there was a 17% compared to 10%. This is why Facebook is really successful, right? You can like something and then continue surfing. Whereas if you have an event that you're signing somebody up for, is it a 2-page questionnaire? Do you ask them your social security number and their date of birth and their parents' maiden names? Or do you make it easy? Name, phone, email, and then we'll contact you. So 19% compared to 13%. The only thing we added on this was a phone number. And look at the difference. Look at the drop. So out of every 1,000 people that landed on this form, we had a significant drop just when we added phone number. Maybe it's because they didn't want us to call them, but it's another form, right? It's another field.
Okay, great. And then another way to reach a larger audience is to repurpose content. So using the same content on multiple channels, you're going to reach a larger audience for the same amount of work. So I'm going to use a little case study for you guys just to demonstrate this. And alum J.K. Simmons, who heard about his recent successes. A couple people? Okay, a lot of people? Yeah. So he just won an Academy Award. So when he was up for that award, when he was nominated for that award, we put this picture of him conducting the band when he was on campus. It was a picture that we had already had in our stock of photos. Put it up on the homepage with a cut line that said he was up for the Academy Award. Then we went ahead and mirrored that image on our Facebook page, our cover image, with the same cut line as the description of the photo over there on the right side. And then we went ahead and tweeted out the photo, letting people know, hey, a new feature photo is up. Grizz Nation is pulling for our alumnus J.K. Simmons to bring home an Oscar on Sunday. And then after he won the Oscar, we went ahead and changed the cut line on the homepage, the main image, letting people know that he won the Oscar. And then from our homes on our cell phones, we went ahead and updated our Facebook page. Oscar Gold, J.K. Simmons just became the University of Montana's first alum to win an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. And the thing here is we capitalized on timeliness, the thing I was talking about before. We didn't wait until Monday to put this up. We put it up right away. And we noticed people engaging with that content right away. And then the last thing we did that night is we put out a tweet, and we're saying the same thing, but we only have 140 characters to do it in. So we changed our wording a little bit. We're beaming all the way from Missoula. Congrats to alumnus J.K. Simmons for the Oscar 2015 win. And just a note here on the language that we're using. You know, we're using language that's conveying an emotion as if he were our child or something. You know, we're beaming with pride. So I think you can also think about this is where your personality comes through, and you're kind of conveying a lot with just that one word. And then this is Instagram. It's not the most dynamic image, but we put it up right away. We weren't in Hollywood. We didn't see him walk across the stage, you know, gripping that award. And so what we did was we took a screenshot of the Missoulians update and, you know, got it up on Instagram right away. So if someone, maybe they weren't watching the Academy Awards, but they were on Instagram, oh wow, he won, he got the award. So, and actually our interns did this without us prompting them or anything. They just they saw it come up, they did the screenshot, they put it up right away, and that's something that we're gonna talk about in a little bit, is empowering your students. So do you wanna talk about this a little bit?
Sure. So when we were going through this, I asked Andrea, well, how long did all of this take you? That seemed like a ton of effort, and you said it was about 90 minutes, which really surprised me. And you know, I think that's a credit to sort of the interns. Andrea has sort of let go of some of that control, which is awesome. And like she said, she'll talk about that. But 90 minutes, 460,000 total impressions on those channels, and that's a lot of impressions. And an impression is on Facebook, if you're scrolling through and you see a story, that's one impression. So think about that. You know, Washington Grizzly Stadium holds 25,000 people about, so it's a lot of Washington Grizzly Stadiums who the University of Montana is in front of. So I get asked a lot, so what's the value here? Why spend time on this? Well, that 90 minutes that Andrea invested in setting this up, if we were to pay for that type of advertising, it would have cost over $9,000 in newspaper advertising. So as impression-based, that would have cost about $9,000. And I lowered that cost per 1,000 impressions on this graph here. Magazine, it would have cost $8,700, and radio, $3,000, over $3,000. So there's value in getting your name out there. If you don't have an advertising budget or a marketing budget, this is a great way to sort of cut out the advertiser and get those impressions yourself.
Okay, so I know what you're thinking, but I don't have an Oscar-winning alum to talk about and to repurpose content on all these channels, so what can I do in my department? And so here's a couple of ideas, and there are many more, and I will want to hear your guys' ideas at the end of the presentation too. But the first thing is share content from your website. So how many of your departments have switched over to the new web form Cascade? Okay, great, quite a few. So there's an opportunity there to share the stories that you're putting up on your homepage onto social media. This is an example of our Vision magazine, which is our research publication that University Relations produces. We put that up on University Relations' website, and then we shared that on Facebook. Now, Research View has a pretty narrow following, just a couple thousand people that are interested in our research, but by putting it up on Facebook, you can see we reached 5,000 more people just by putting it up on Facebook. And then use your phone, and as you see, I'm using my phone to look at my notes for today's presentation, but they're really powerful tools. How many of you have a smartphone? Okay, so I'd say almost everyone in the audience, and they have great cameras. They take really quality video. Unfortunately, this is really small, so you can't really see, but this is Faces of is something that our interns started. This is a picture of a business school student holding her, I believe it's her accounting book. They took her photo, they asked her a question, what was the last book you read? And then she talked about it. We put it up on Instagram with the hashtag Faces of and then they did this all with their phones. And then we put it up on Twitter as well. Hey, don't forget to follow us on Instagram to learn about Faces of So we're not sharing the same content, we're actually driving people from Twitter to Instagram with the same image and just a short blurb about the student. And then the other thing is I'm gonna show like a quick video that Todd Goodrich, who's our photographer, captured as he was walking across the Oval. He was actually on his way I think he was on his way back from a shoot, back to our office, and he saw this happening. He just stopped, pressed record, and that was it. So I want you to watch this video and then let me know why you think what are the good qualities about this video.
I don't know, 'cause you and I both know that the house is haunted. Well, you and I both know that the ghost is you. Used to catch me in bed sheets just to ride your chains. Well, back then, baby, it didn't seem so strange. Midnight hour came alive.
I had to find that crystal ball.
Oh, I gotta find that skin. Well, the sun came up about we had no place to hide. You had to go and say all those damn crazy things.
I had to.
That's okay.
That just makes me smile every time I see it. So what do you guys think? What makes that a good video? Just throw anything out there.
Spontaneous.
Yeah. Spontaneous, yes.
Several different messages happening, so you can go at it and each different viewer may have a different perception of what they're connecting with.
Good, yeah. Anyone else? I saw someone in the back, yeah.
It's authentic and it wasn't staged, it was just caught.
Totally, yeah, right on. And then in the very back, I saw a hand.
You can see the M and the main building of the clock tower, so it knew where it was happening, and
You could see it was on the oval.
Campus, and it looks so fun.
Mm-hmm. I know, every time I see that video, I just think like, oh, I wish I could be out there in the sun, like doing my work, you know. And I think that all of those things that you said is what made that video really successful. And again, it was Todd, he kind of saw a moment. Not to say too, those are two pretty really talented students, and they have great voices. They're being themselves. It wasn't staged, you know. You can even see in the beginning, it's kind of shaky, and you don't even notice it because you're so focused on what's happening. It's also only 90 seconds, 50 seconds, so keep it under a minute. You know, no longer than 3 minutes for video. People just don't have the attention span. But that was with a phone. That's something you could, you know, easily just pop up, and you guys hit on all the things that you're looking for when you do share a video. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was finding content that maybe you aren't producing, but listening to what other people are saying about you. So this is a screenshot of our Twitter account, and it's kind of small, but the tweet here in the box is from Henrietta Lowett. She's a journalism professor, and she's saying, "I love this series on foreign-born faculty and staff at U Montana. It reminds me that I'm in great company here." And then she puts a link to the UM International Programs page. For the month of March, they're featuring international-born faculty and staff on campus. And so by retweeting that content, she's saying it way better than we could ever say it. It's kind of that same idea of you're going to hire someone that your friend referred, right? It's word of mouth. So one thing that I would encourage you all to do is just listen to what other people are saying about you and then share that content. You're not having to create it, you're just kind of out there listening for it, and then you're sharing it on your channels. It's kind of intuitive, but. Oh, and then the last question is, how do I make time for social media? This was something that we kind of heard in the surveys. Some of you feel like you're an army of one, you know, you're doing this amongst a lot of other tasks on your plate. And so we came up with a couple of tools that we wanted to share with you. The first one is make a schedule. Again, this is kind of basic, and I have this content calendar that Cindy is going to email out to everyone after if you want to use it. It's super simple Excel spreadsheet. I'm sure there are Excel power users in here that could make it much better. This is just something I created, and I'm not an Excel power user, but I have the channels on the left side, I have the days of the week going across, and then the content categories are colored. So you see we have Montana Monday, Caption This, Then and Now on Tuesday, From Where I Stand on Wednesday, Faces of UM on Thursday, and Week in Review on Friday. And then you can see too we're repurposing content. So we share a Montana Monday photo on Instagram. The interns pick one or two they like, they put up on Instagram. They also do that on Twitter. And then on Wednesdays, we have the Share Mindy. Mindy is a video application. So we've got it on Twitter and we have it on YouTube. So you can kind of see how you're doing one thing, but you're putting it on multiple channels. And that's just a way to organize yourself so that you're really busy, you know, you've got it all plotted out, you know, for the week, and you just look at that and you say, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna do, and you get it up, get it online. And then how many people here have scheduled a post on Facebook? Okay, so I don't know if I need to go into that. I was going to pull this up and just show you how to do it. And if you are curious to see how that's done, grab me after and I can go ahead and show you. It's super simple. One thing I will note on this is if you have, let's say on Friday afternoon, you schedule all your posts for the next week, you're feeling good, you got it done, and then something changes, something happens, that content is no longer relevant, or it could be offensive. You have to be on top of that. You have to be responsive. And one example of this was actually just this week when I heard about the tragedies that happened over the weekend. I immediately went onto Facebook and I canceled all of our content scheduled for the week, because if someone were to get onto Facebook Monday morning looking for a statement or finding out more information about what had happened, this is so sad, and they saw Montana Monday, that just would not feel good, and we don't want to disrespect anyone in that way. So that's just one example. If you do have scheduled posts, don't forget about them. And then use tools. So this is just one tool that I like to use, and there's a ton out there, and maybe you guys have ones that you like. You could, you know, if you do, throw your arm up and we'll shout out the ones that you use. This is Hootsuite. I use it mostly for Twitter. You can use it for Facebook as well. These are all the things that people are saying about us. So this is, you know, people we're direct messaging. This is people that are mentioning us. This is people, can't actually read what the search term is up there, but you can schedule tweets on here. And it's just a way, and so you don't have to go to every person you're following's Twitter account to see what they're saying about you. It condenses it for you in one place, and you can actually share, you can retweet, reply, you can do everything from Hootsuite. So it makes it really convenient. Does anyone else use a tool that they want to talk about that's good for them? Okay. And then I talked a little bit about this, but employ and empower students. How many of you work in offices where you have students or student interns? About half or 3/4. Okay. This is something that can be a little scary. You know, you're handing over the reins to someone to produce content that's representing your department. But we found that our students, I'm just so impressed with the students that we have here. And they have great ideas, and it takes a load of work off of your plate. And if they're out there capturing images or capturing video, you know, they can work with you on refining the message, editing, checking their spelling, and then you just put it up. So there can be a lot of ways, but I think the important part is, you know, you have to let go a little bit. And there might be a mistake, you know, they might spell a word wrong. It's okay, remember 90 minutes and people have forgotten about it, right? So you can also edit in Facebook. So if something goes out, there's a misspelled word, comma's in the wrong place, there's no period. You just go in, you edit, you add it, and maybe you can solve the problem before it becomes more. And then the last thing I want to talk about before I hand it over to Kyle is just the monitoring, the hashtag, and the @ sign. So if you have your Twitter handle is at School of Business Administration, you can monitor that on Hootsuite, listen to what people are saying about you, and share that content. Likewise, if you guys have stuff going on and there's a conference coming up and it's supported, you know, you're putting it on, your department's putting it on, if you include conference happening at Montana, then I see it. I see it on our Hootsuite, and I can help get that out there and share the content. And, you know, don't be offended if I don't share it, because it might not fall into one of those newsworthy categories that I talked about before. But it's just good practice, and I know, Chris, that was something that I talked to you about when you came in, and I've been seeing you do it, and I've been sharing your sustainability posts, and it's awesome for us because he's been posting all these cool things that they're doing for sustainability efforts on campus that's interesting, and I'm excited to share it to our audience. And so I know all of you in this room have those, and I want to help get all that good news out to everybody else too. So.
Cool. Andrea, is Hootsuite free for a single user?
Yep,
Okay.
It's free for a single user. If you want multiple people to use it together, it costs a little bit of money. I think it's pretty affordable though.
You could always share a login, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Get around. So hashtags, 31% of students, according to Zinch.com, have searched for a specific hashtag related to their college search. And when you're using a hashtag, you know, Montana Monday is a good example Andrea gave earlier. We see a lot of Montana Mondays, and Andrea will send it out, and they might also take the picture in Glacier National Park and hashtag Glacier National Park. So now when somebody is looking at glacier pictures or following the hashtag, I use hashtags mostly on Instagram. I know they're really popular on Twitter as well. But then they stumble upon the University of Montana and they say, wow, this is pretty close in proximity. This is a student that goes to the University of Montana. So hashtags are kind of like a rabbit hole for a lot of people. They start clicking, then they find a user. Where did that image come from? So it's a good idea to start testing those. And Hootsuite, as Andrea mentioned, is a great way to monitor that. Otherwise, you have to go in and search individual hashtags. A good website to also check out is search.twitter.com. And what this will do for you is you can search hashtags, and you can also search just pretty much anything. So if you're in the accounting program and you want to see who's talking about accounting online, you can search hashtag accounting or accounting Montana and see, oh, here's a user that is talking about Montana accounting, and they're going to be in Missoula. Maybe this is someone we want to connect with, or at least reach out to and say, hey, the University of Montana accounting program is doing some pretty cool things with our accreditation, for example. It's unique to the state. So search.twitter.com. Go there, search for your department, and you'll be not shocked, but really surprised at how much people are talking about your individual department, program, or really your objective.
Okay, do you want to talk about
Oh yeah, let's do this. So best practices, things to remember, things to avoid. One of the questions we get a lot as well is it better to have a Facebook page that we never update or no Facebook page at all? And I would vote, and Andrea, I'd be curious of your decision, I would vote no Facebook page at all. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the reasons is that social media can be used as a customer service tool. At a university, our customers are our students, and there's a lot of times when they might reach out to you via social media, and if nobody is monitoring that, that is it's an empty vacuum where their message or their complaint or their concern or their referral is lost. A good example is here on Twitter. A student was pretty upset when his diploma was sent to him with not enough postage. So the University of Montana sent a letter out, and they said, if you want your diploma, you have to pay us 71 cents in postage. This obviously upset the student pretty bad. Enrollment problems must be worse than we thought. At U Montana sends diplomas with postage due! Exclamation point. But did you see that they at U Montana'd us? So Andrea, monitoring Hootsuite, saw this and said, okay, we have to deal with this immediately. This is a problem. U Montana registrar, is anybody from the registrar's office here who manages this account? So they did a great job of responding. Sorry for the mistake. UM Mail Services has assured us it's a rare occasion. Please let us reimburse you for the extra cost. Brandon responds at UM registrar. Thanks for your note. It's a small amount, and I understand mistakes happen, but feel free to credit my account. Hashtag impressed. So this was a success story about how social media really delivered on the customer service promise. So if you haven't opened up your Facebook business page in a while, hopefully there's no messages there. You can also link those to your emails, but monitor this. So as Andrew was saying, set up a Hootsuite account with an individual user. Anytime somebody mentions your accounts, you're flagged, and then you can say, okay, we got to deal with this immediately. So it's another channel. And again, where are your students spending time? In this case, it was Twitter. So you should be on Twitter, sort of helping communicate with them.
I'll just add one thing. Sorry, Kyle.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting that he got this in the mail, and he immediately went to Twitter to talk about it. So this is something also to be aware of, is our students are vetting their, they're voicing their concerns in a public space. So we have to be in a public space. And I just want to give credit to the U Montana registrar. They didn't have a Twitter account until this student, until we alerted them of this problem. They immediately signed up for a Twitter account, and they responded directly. So kudos to them for being responsive. I know sometimes with everything else we have going on our plate, just getting a Twitter account just seems like the last thing you want to work on that day. So.
And so UM Registrar, as Andrew said, did a really great job. There are some companies that spend 90% of their time apologizing to customers. Any idea what industry this might be? What is it? Cable companies? That might be a good example. Yeah. Airlines. Yeah. So people are on their airplane. Oh, this is the captain speaking. There's a 4-hour delay. See everybody take their phones out. This is the worst airline ever. Never flying United again. I hate this company. And then can you imagine being their social media team? Like, okay, we got to respond to it. We're really sorry. Here's a food voucher or whatever. But that's not the position you want to be in. Well, is it JetBlue or Delta? JetBlue has started to combat this by saying, we're going to try to get in front of our apologies and sort of teach people because they might have seen a lot of chatter on social media. The person I'm sitting next to won't stop doing this, or this is kind of crazy, this scenario. So they've tried to do like a training or a tutorial for flight etiquette. So we're going to show you a quick video on flight etiquette, a creative way that JetBlue has used to get in front of their social media complaints.
Hi, sorry, that's me. Oh, sure. Thank you. So, do you live in New York? Yeah. So you work and live in New York? Yeah, I'm so sorry. Just a lot of stuff I have to get through, so sure. We're in this in-between, what do I call him my boyfriend? How are we together? Because now I'm not desperate. I have cats. Did I tell you I can do a lot of accents? If one of your senses are off, the other one is extra. I know, matey. Put on a pot of tea. Who needs a relationship? By the way, are you a Gemini? Because I'm getting that kind of vibe from you. Oh, God. They always do that when you're out. They say, where'd you go? Why were you gone for so long, Ooh, smell that. Tell me what that is. Because, it could be a number of things. And I was like, what? And she was like, what? And I was like, what? So, I told her,
So they've poked fun at their own sort of customer service and trying to train passengers, hey, respect the privacy or space of your, what would you call it, passenger mate, I guess?
Yeah, seatmate.
Yeah. Seatmate, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually Kyle and I, when we were getting ready for the presentation, we clicked on the hashtag flight etiquette just to see if people were using it, and people, oh my gosh, people were saying some hilarious things on there. So it's kind of like they understand their audience, and they know that flying across the country, it can be unpleasant, and they're kind of, it's like we're in it together kind of attitude. The other thing I wanted to mention was CASE, is Council for Advancement and Support of Education. Has anyone here heard of that? Okay, great. Yeah, so we are a part of CASE. We're a CASE institution. Our region is District 8, and that's Idaho, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, Alberta, I think that's it, in Montana. And so I would just recommend, that's our region, just look at what other universities are doing, and if they're doing something great, steal their ideas. I always say CASE stands for copy and steal everything. So, and then just best practices, and these are just more reminders. I know you guys probably already are comfortable with these things, but oops. Oh, we're not zooming in here? No, okay, sorry. So use quality photos. This picture on the left, these are both pictures that were submitted to us from classes that did field experiences. So I'm sorry that it didn't zoom in for you. The picture on the left is you can, it's a classroom outside, but it's the back of their heads and the side of Royce's face. You can still see it's a beautiful shot. I think they're up in Glacier, but that picture doesn't really tell us much. But if we look at the picture on the right, similar landscape shot, but you can see their faces. You can see that guy is pointing out, and there's another guy in the background pointing out. It makes you wonder what they're looking at. It begs you to find out more about this photo. So think about that. And then this link right here, which we'll send out to you after the presentation, is our brand guidelines. And there's a whole section on photography, and there's some good things to remember. Always keep things in focus. Grip and grins aren't that interesting. Don't take a picture of someone wearing an offensive shirt and then put it up on your website or social media, things like that. So wanted to share that with you guys. And then
photos, do iPhones and the smartphones, do they take high enough quality photos?
Yeah.
So if people say high quality photos, and I don't know what that means in the spectrum of device.
Okay, yeah, they do for social media. For the internet, it only needs to be 72 DPI, which is a pretty low res image to look good on the internet. And the iPhones in particular take really great photos. Their lenses are pretty good quality lenses. So a lot of what we put up on social media aren't Todd photos. I mean, I think you can all tell the difference between a Todd photo and an iPhone photo, but they are still pretty good. The other thing is use our new logo. So we do have a new brand, and the more all of us get on board with that brand, the more energized it becomes, and we all start rising to the top. And if you're like, I don't know how to get the new logo, the Printing and Graphic Services, this is on our brand guidelines page. You could click on a link and you download the logos directly from Printing and Graphic Services. And on our logo page, it actually tells you when to use which version of the logo. So it's really helpful for if you're not quite sure if I should use this horizontal impulse logo or if I should use the main logo. It kind of talks about which logos to use when. And then before I hand it over to Kyle for a consistent voice, I'll just talk about go back to basics. So, what we learned in journalism school still rings true on social media: who, what, where, when, why, and how. And I used that example of the J.K. Simmons image from Instagram, and it was just the screenshot of the phone, but it said who, J.K. Simmons, why, what, he won the Oscar. It had the date, the time, so everything was right in there in one photo. So even though the photo's not that dynamic, it has a big message.
Hopefully I didn't screw you up here, Andrew.
That's okay.
If I hit present, does it go back to the beginning? Maybe.
If you just click on this one over here, Kyle, the 86.
Oh yeah, let's do
I think
that.
we'll.
Okay. There we
Okay,
go.
so I think we're back on. A little bit weird now, but.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about consistent voice?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We found a consistent, when you're managing your campaigns, a consistent voice. This comes from the FAFSA website, so Federal Student Aid, and they were very informative. Here's the deadline to fill out the FAFSA. Here's some things to know about student loans, and that made sense. And then their voice changed, and they showed a picture. It said, like, "Help me, I'm poor," and it just really was a little bit offensive to students, and they got pretty upset about it. It's that gray area between what not to do and sort of keep your voice consistent. It was meant to be funny, and it really wasn't. And so when you're on social media, as Andrew was saying, you're representing the university, so make sure that voice sort of stays consistent. And so we're getting toward the end here. These are just some take-home tools for you, things to take back. You can check out these websites today. BuzzSumo.com, funny name, but a really valuable website if you're thinking, well, what type of content do people care about in my channel? So if you are an alumni network, what are people searching for University of Montana alumni? And you'll see all sorts of stories. So you put it in there. It's a free tool. It will give you who's talking about it and even how many followers they have. So one of the things we didn't talk too much about was using influencers to help promote your message. So if you're just getting started, if you're talking about sustainability, or maybe you're at Missoula College and you say, I want to really promote the culinary program. And maybe it might make sense to say, all right, BuzzSumo, what are people talking about in the culinary world? And then finding, oh, here's a Twitter user that has 20,000 followers, and all they do is do reviews of colleges or culinary schools or help students find jobs. This might be a great person to reach out to and say, here's what Missoula College is doing in culinary. Just wanted to let you know. Provide them some value. Don't necessarily say, can you follow us and then share everything we share? Give them some value first, and then you'll see, oh, they followed us back, and now they're going to promote the stuff that we want to talk about. Marketingland.com keeps it really up to date. So this will say, this is how we found out when Instagram first launched video. Marketingland reported it and said, when Facebook first launched video. So Facebook now offering a video feature, and this matters because if you can get on that edge of providing new content. Does anybody remember when Facebook didn't have images? There was a time when Facebook didn't have any images. It was just posts. And one day they said, okay, we figured out the technology. We're going to provide images. And those businesses that got on that front end and started providing images to users, that got noticed right away. Whoa, what is this? Same thing with video. Facebook just not all that long ago provided their own video feature that it just sort of loops. And now Facebook has more video views than YouTube, believe it or not. So Marketingland will really help you. I check it usually once a day just to see if there's anything new. You certainly don't have to do it to that extent, but it will give you some coaching tips. Did you have a question? Oh, sorry, I saw this hand. And then finally, Keyword Planner. You need a Google account to go in here, but what Keyword Planner will do for you is actually tell you my search results. So I'm in modern and classical languages. How many people are searching for that term per month? And maybe it makes more sense to have my headline be modern languages because more people are searching for that. So Keyword Planner, again, we'll send this out so you can click on that. The last one is simply YouTube. This is probably my biggest resource, actually. When Facebook or Instagram has an update or I see a brand doing something, I'm like, how do I do that? How do I put a video on Instagram? I'll search for that on YouTube. A good example, too, is when you're creating a business account, it can get a little bit murky. Like when I post on my own account, does it show up on my business account? How do I separate the two? If you search for any of those questions on YouTube, there's anywhere from 5-minute to an hour tutorials on walking you right through that with screen shares and everything. So somebody will be clicking through it. Use YouTube as a really good resource. One of the comments we got was, I post on Twitter, and for some reason it's showing up on Facebook. Like, how do I unlink the two? And that to me would be a YouTube question because they'll actually walk you right through it. It might be a little technical, but they'll walk you right through that. So that concludes our presentation, and I'm sure you still have other questions, and so we're here to open up the floor. And also, if anybody wants to share something that they've done that's worked for them or what is working for them now, let's definitely hear it. Yeah. Oh, thanks.
The jab, I think it was hard for me to identify what my audience sees as a jab and a right hook. I work in financial aid, and I feel like that, I can steal from what other things are happening on campus. I can see that as, jabs, just giving them, value, but I think, I feel like a lot of things that we offer are boring. Like, how do I get this student interested in, do I say, like, okay, if you file your FAFSA early, then, you can get more money and whatever. Is that a jab or a right hook? I'm not asking them for something, but it's not providing value necessarily, but it kind of is. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a good example, financial aid, right? And when I'm talking with prospective students, I'll say, I'm going to talk about financial aid. Before you zone out, this is really important information, and it is important. I see a jab in financial aid being, sign up for your FAFSA, yes, but maybe even a little bit deeper, like 5 reasons that filling out your FAFSA will help you save money. Or get on there and maybe even make it a little bit fun. Like, what would you do with an extra $1,000 if your answer depends on if you fill the FAFSA out in time. And then that right hook is, we need you to fill out the FAFSA. You're in a unique situation because if a student doesn't fill out their FAFSA, there's actually a penalty, and it's a financial penalty. Like, if somebody doesn't come to an event this weekend, there's really no penalty for them. So that's a pretty powerful right hook. Like, you need to fill out your FAFSA by this deadline, or else you miss out on grant opportunity, money that you don't have to pay back.
The other thing that just came to my mind is, helping students navigate the financial landscape of being in college. So you could have, tips on the importance of saving, or how to navigate, student loan, or what does an interest rate mean? There's a ton of valuable information that actually I could probably take away from the financial aid office. And, it's kind of the first time in their lives that they're kind of independent in a financial sense. And so maybe there's some value-added material there for just getting started.
Financial education now is a program, and they have social media, and that's the kind of thing that they tackle. So I don't know. Just steal from that.
Maybe you could share their content, I would say. Then you don't have to create it on your own. But yeah, I bet you could maybe have a little brainstorming session, and what the FAFSA can be kind of an overwhelming topic, and I bet you could break it down into ways that I bet you could be a leader in helping students understand that FAFSA form, and that would be really cool. And then all the other case institutions would be copying and stealing what you guys are doing. So any other questions? I saw a couple more. Yeah.
Are you guys still using the Thrive hashtag?
We haven't been using it too much. It's kind of lived on. I see it out there a lot. I don't know why we haven't really been using it a lot in our posts. Our big hashtag now is Gristagram. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that. That's our student life hashtag, and it kind of gets back to that statistic that Kyle was talking about. 31% of students search hashtags when they're looking at their college search. And so that's actually from students. It's their lens onto the University of Montana, and it gets back to that other people say it better than you. And so we were all using Thrive, but our students weren't really using it. So we kind of slowly moved more to Gristagram.
Yeah. And the other thing about hashtags is you don't actually own the hashtag, right? Like we've turned Gristagram into the UM Student Life hashtag, and that's what it's known as. But there's been case studies, and I don't have any off the top of my head, where a brand has a hashtag, they try to promote it, like flight etiquette, for example. Or actually, a good example would be the NYPD. So as a response to sort of the negative publicity that the NYPD was receiving, their social media team said, all right, we're going to try to do a hashtag that says like NYPD helps, and show and have people taking images of how NYPD helps local New York City residents. And it turned into a bit of a PR disaster because they would show, you know, an NYPD officer pulling somebody by their shirt and say, NYPD helps you stretch out your clothes. And so it became sort of like this, you know, this nightmare. So they didn't own the hashtag. They couldn't remove that. Once the hashtag is out there, and maybe Thrive got a little bit.
I think the problem with Thrive is that it's so broad. Like Kaiser Permanente's, which is a health company, is their logo or motto or tagline is Thrive as well. And so when you go to Thrive, there's just so many things that you don't even, we weren't standing above the noise.
So if we're sharing or talking like general University of Montana content, but not towards students, or that students presented looking at students in the local area.
Okay.
Do you think hashtag UMontana is probably our best bet?
Yeah, for Twitter, are you talking Twitter or Facebook? So Facebook, the hashtags actually don't work that well. I don't know if anyone's tried to search for a hashtag and you know there's like 20 and you only see like 2, and I don't know the Facebook algorithms enough to understand what's happening there. But on Twitter, I would recommend just tagging at UMontana. And then for the hashtags, I think if like ones that we use a lot are Missoula, and then if you want to develop your own hashtag that has to do with like SEL programs or like continuing education or something like that, maybe you would start to join a larger conversation about that. The one, I don't think we have just a general UMontana hashtag. Not to say we shouldn't start one. Maybe we should.
Yeah.
So yeah, good question. Yeah.
I was just wondering, so when you run your diagnostics, or you know, to see who's talking about you, do you have to run through everything like hashtag UM, hashtag UMontana, hashtag U of Montana?
That's a good question. Yeah. So like in Hootsuite, and you might have another responses, but when I'm just listening to what people are saying, I don't search for UM because it's so broad that you'll get everyone going, or you'll get University of Michigan, all the other UMs out there. So what I do is I do University of Montana spelled out, and this isn't a hashtag, this is just an actual search term, and then UNIV period of Montana, and then UMontana. So is there anyone else searching for a term that I should know about that you guys see out there? Okay. What about you, Kyle?
I think that's a good response. What's nice about Hootsuite is you can have as many as you'd like.
Can you just put when I see put them all in?
Mm-hmm. And in I don't know if you remember, but every column is a different search field. So, and then, you know, we also search Grizzlies and University of Montana Grizzlies, and I know athletics, they do all their own social media and they also search there, but I like to listen in that space because there's a lot of students who are going to become Grizzlies, and so they talk about that with, even though it's not athletics, they're classifying themselves as a Grizzly, even if they're not an athlete, if that makes sense.
You'll never quite catch them all. I think our number 2 search term, like most traffic, number 1 is University of Montana. They get to our homepage. Number 2 is University of Montana, but spelled wrong. So it's kind of tough to anticipate. Right.
Yeah.
What is marketing land saying about Facebook usage among 16 and 22-year-olds? I'm hearing from multiple sources that it's plummeting, that they're not using Facebook anymore because grandma's on Facebook. It's become something for the older generation. So that's a reason to maybe try Tumblr again, and that seems to be where they are on Tumblr and Twitter and stuff.
That's a great question that we talk about it a lot. Do you want to take it a minute? Sure.
Yeah, you know, and I would agree that the surveys are showing that, but at the beginning, you know, the presentation showing those statistics about students are using Facebook for different reasons. It used to be that they would use it to connect with friends. Now it is Snapchat. Instagram is growing exponentially. And And who owns Instagram? Facebook owns Instagram, right? So there's definitely, they saw that coming. But they're using it for different reasons. 17% of power users on Facebook are responsible for 80% of the engagement. So that means people that are liking your posts, who comment, and you probably know these people, right? That you post something and all of a sudden, like, comment, share. Whoa, that was fast. And that demographic isn't in the high school age, but based on the results from those inch surveys, they're using it for different reasons. So they're not on there saying, maybe communicating with friends, but they are checking out who has more likes, the University of Montana or the University of Idaho, and use it sort of as a perception-based. But I would agree that it's, engagement in that demographic has sort of plateaued, and it might be decreasing a little bit, but it's still far and away in terms of social media the number one platform to reach the largest audience.
And then I'll just add to that. So I don't know if anyone in this room went to see DK speak, which was 2 weeks ago. He was a social media expert that came and did like an evening session on campus. And one thing that I took away from his presentation is the audience of the audience. So if that demographic that is sharing and posting is an older audience, they might be sending it directly to their student, and we see that a lot on our Facebook page. And also, I think students are just really sophisticated in the way that they interact with social media, and they have a really big authenticity BS meter, whatever you want to call it, and they're not willing to just dive into content like maybe they were when social media first started. And so the content really has to be relevant to their lives in order for them to share it. And we noticed earlier this week when we were talking about the tragedies that were happening on campus, students were engaging with that content, and so we know they're listening. And that's the thing is they might not be liking and sharing your posts, but they are listening to what you're saying. Any other questions?
I was just curious whether you guys have data for both your Yankees and posts, or if those were like...
Those were organic, yeah. That was, those just took off and people shared them. And it was cool how many people didn't know that he was a UM alum and how excited they were about him. And he's just a pretty interesting person who's had so many roles. And people were like, oh, I remember him from Juno, and he was that one guy in that show. And so he's a pretty interesting guy. But,
yeah.
Yep.
I just wanted to share one thing that we've been successful, and it's just echoing what you said earlier with these 2 students. We were really nervous for a long time about, having to control everything and kind of that fear factor. And this semester we sort of took a deep breath and took the plunge and hired a student to do this. And we still, still need and we monitor, and when we see something misspelled, we get in there and fix it or whatever, and then give her feedback. But oh my gosh, it just made a world of difference. It's like off of my neck, and she just stays on top of it. We have active content. It's fabulous.
What department? Oh, cool. Yeah, awesome. Kudos to the School of Business. Our interns right now are all marketing students, and I mean, they are really well prepared, and we can feel good about that, that they're ready. This is maybe their first job or whatever, and it's a great experience for them too, and they're learning a lot. So.
I just had a comment. I'm not sure if people can. So I have 2 daughters who are in college, not in the state of Montana. And when they were both accepted to their college, the college accepted them. They hadn't said yes yet. They were put into a class of, right, on Facebook. So like class of 2015, class of, what's the other one, 2017. And they immediately on their Facebook, I mean, the minute they got accepted, the college said, join our Facebook page, blah, blah, blah. And that Facebook page dumped tons of information. The financial aid department contacted them. Admissions was constantly contacting them. They had ambassadors, like student ambassadors, who were on the Facebook page constantly saying, hey, learn about this club, that club. So it was like constantly dynamic every single day. so that they would, one, say yes to go to those schools, but then they got all the information like the financial aid and et cetera. So it was kind of, it was interesting. It sort of was like an internal club to like all the 2015 students.
You in admissions?
Yeah, we operate a sort of accepted student group. We're a little more hands-off, it sounds like, than that university. We sort of let the conversations, people find roommates in this area. There's a little less, you know, if a department comes to us and says, can we post in the student group? It's a little more, we're going to let that grow organically. But that's a good idea. Maybe
I
I'll,
was surprised.
yeah.
Because, like, as they just got information every day
Okay.
from that.
Huh.
And they said yes to both schools.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there he is.
That's cool. Awesome. Any other questions or anything you guys want to share that's been working well? Yeah.
What do you do someone posts something really negative, offensive?
Oh, great question. Yeah, so we do get those. On occasion, someone will post something, like we do engagement questions on Tuesdays, so caption this, photos, you may have seen those, or my favorite place on campus to study is fill in the blank. And sometimes, you know, people will just say something offensive, and you can actually hide that, so their friends can still see it and they can see it, but no one else can. And then what we do is we'll watch that person, and if they tend to, every time we put something on Facebook and they get on there and say something nasty, then we'll just ban them from our page. So you can do that for Facebook. And then for Twitter, I mean, you can't control what other people are saying, you know, retweeting. Like after the sign was changed with the smoke weed every day, I think it's still on Twitter. I mean, it is just all over Twitter. And what are you gonna do? It's out there, you know? So I think you kind of have to just let go sometimes too. Obviously, we don't want that sign blasted everywhere, but good question though.
Good question.
And
but
yeah.
Everybody thinks it's funny now.
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah.
I just had a question about Facebook advertising. Something that we run into a lot is I feel like you try to include like the message in the ad post, but you run into the fact that it has to be I think like 70% photo and only like 20 or 30% of the advertising be text.
Yeah.
Do you have suggestions on how to like get around that? Because even our logo we always reject it if we just use our logo.
Yeah. I know the 70-30 rule applies. So if we have a big dynamic image and then you write text over the image, they won't let you post that. So the text has to be less than 30% of the image. One thing to check out would be unpublished page posts or dark posts. This allows you to post as if you were just posting to your page, so there's no limit on characters. You can have an image, and then you can promote that to any audience you'd like without it actually showing up on your newsfeed to your fans. But it sounds to me like, was it an ad where you were trying to put text over an image? Okay, so yeah. I'm trying to think, I'm going to go back and just look at our logo. Like that 70-30 rule would apply here, right? Like if you tried to use the logo as the image, that would probably be more than 30% of this image. So they wouldn't allow that. They wouldn't allow this as an image. But you could use it. Yeah, that actually wouldn't work if you were just.
Would you recommend like boosting posts instead of actually doing a formal ad?
I think if your intern wants to explore advertising, I would let them go pretty deep beyond boosting a post. And again, look up unpublished page posts, because that's something that's pretty underutilized and really powerful. Because when you boost a post, a lot of times you boost it to your audience that's already listening to you, when you really want to reach the audience that, you know, you have this audience that's listening to you, but you want to reach people over here that are interested in what you have to say but just don't know about you yet. And that's what unpublished posts will help you do. It sounds to me like she's running into that 70-30 image error, because I've run into that before.
We had a similar problem, and Kyle helped me give some images that actually, photos that actually would be more interesting to people in our logo anyway. And then use the area where you're
then how many people know about our Tumblr account or have been to the Tumblr to download images?
Or Flickr.
Or Flickr, sorry,
Yeah.
Flickr. Okay, good, yeah. So Todd put all of his like awesome photos, just a selection of them onto Flickr, and then people can go down and download them for free without like a watermark or anything like that. So, and that is, I think that Flickr account is on our photo guidelines page. And if not, I'll email it out to you guys after this. I'll email you the direct link to it.
And they're different sizes.
They're different, yep, they're different horizontal, vertical photos, so. Awesome, any other questions or ideas or things to share? Well, I think I might want to start a University of Montana hashtag. I'm so glad you brought that up. Will you guys all use it if I start it? No, I'm just kidding.
That was good.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, thanks guys for
thanks.
coming. Hope you learned something.